Football with Farhan and Moj, and right now we're going to head down to Naples, Florida, where it is our honor to be joined by NFL legend and CFL legend as well, Joe Theismann. Joe, thanks for doing this.
You're welcome, guys. Always good to catch up with you.
Hey, first of all, let's talk about this rookie class of quarterbacks. I mean, I'm sure you've been watching them closely, and we've got so many names from Trevor Lawrence to Zach Wilson and now Justin Fields and so many others that have had a chance to play this year. 6 rookie quarterbacks have seen some time, and for the most part, it hasn't gone well. How surprised are you that not even one of these guys has really been able to break out yet and find themselves in the right situation?
I'm not surprised at all. I think all of them have a lot of talent, but, people forget it's a team game. This isn't tennis where you just look at one individual and say, wow, that individual is going to be terrific. I mean, normally when a team drafts a quarterback in the first round with the early pick, there's probably other things on that team that need to be fixed besides that position, but it's a start. And, Justin Fields doesn't have much of an offensive line in front of him. Zach Wilson is finding out that the defensive backs can close very quickly on the ball. Trevor Lawrence is finding out that you just can't throw it up in the air. It's probably going to wind up in the hands of the wrong people. So, they're getting, baptism by fire, I guess you could say. And it's going to be painful. It's going to be long. They're going to win a game here and a game there. But, it's one of those things that's a process, and nobody wants to admit it. Nobody wants to say that it takes time to learn how to play the quarterback position, but they're finding out that it does.
How much pressure is there on a guy like Lawrence right now? Because when you talk about him, the best prospect since Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning before him, a generational talent, a guy that's won everywhere he's been, and, to be anointed, it was a slam dunk. There was no hesitation or mystery as to who the number one pick was going to be. How much pressure is there on Trevor Lawrence right now?
I don't think there's any more than there was coming in. There were expectations. You as an athlete have expectations to play well, but you're entering a whole different world. This is a man's world. When Trevor Lawrence played at Clemson, where they were the best football team on the field, 10 out of 10 times. Most every time he lined up, it wasn't a question of whether we were going to win. Question, how many points are we going to score? Now you're in a level playing field where the talent level is the same as basically what you had on your football team. So it's a different learning process there. I think there's more pressure on Urban Meyer to be able to find a way to be able to protect Trevor Lawrence, to give him a chance to be successful. I'll tell you a story. Tom Moore was the offensive coordinator in Indianapolis when Peyton Manning was drafted. And Tom and I have been friends for years, and I used to do a game, and I would talk to Tom about Peyton. And Tom said, I had a couple of things I wanted to make sure that happened to Peyton. Number one, I didn't want to get him beat up physically. And number two, I didn't want to get him beat up mentally. Therefore, a lot of the routes that were called were get the ball out of your hands quickly. Don't take hits that are unnecessary. Now, I'll be honest with you. If I'm Justin Fields and you're in Chicago, I don't know how fast you can get the ball out of your hands before somebody's in your face. But these young men have never faced defensive linemen and pressure like they're seeing right now. And if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm playing these guys, I'm bringing pressure from all over the place. Unless you can beat it, you're going to see it. And so to me, I really think it's, again, I say it's a process, but sometimes it's the system that guys are playing in. If you have a young quarterback, you have to modify your system to protect them. And the guys on the team, and this is one of the hardest things to swallow, guys, is if I'm playing with a rookie quarterback, I know that they're committed to him, and it's a process to learn. So the chances for success aren't that great. Now, you're a veteran on that football team, and you're basically nurturing a young guy into this league. That doesn't sit very well with some guys.
Joe, I don't know if you went through this because obviously with Toronto and the Canadian Football League, when you came out of Notre Dame, you guys had success. But, Peyton was talking about this during the Monday night telecast with his brother Eli, and he said he lost more in that first year than he did all through high school and all through college. And I guess that's the same that's happening for whether it's Trevor Lawrence, all these other quarterbacks. How much do you think that wears on a young quarterback? The fact that, all of a sudden you're losing football games left, right, and center.
I think it probably will wear a little bit because these guys are not used to losing, but they also aren't used to playing in the NFL. Now, if I could sit and play psychologist with these guys, is look, focus on what you can get better at every week. How are you going to get better? It's the job of the general manager, the president of the organization, the coach, to put players around you to give you a chance to be successful. But what are you going to do this week to get better than you did last week? When we sit here and look at this film, what decision do you have to make? The Trevor Lawrence interception. I mean, it was just throw it up in the air. I'll tell you another guy who ought to sit down and do that is Patrick Mahomes. Patrick has thrown the ball up for grabs in these 3 games much more than we've seen him. I mean, it really doesn't hurt looking at the guys you're throwing the football to. I mean, the one interception he threw, he was running to the right, tried to throw it back to the left. It gets picked off. It's funny, guys. I had I think, first of all, to answer your question, I think it's something you have to deal with. And now you're in a different category, and mentally you have to just prepare this way, not like you did before. But I used to have a sign in my locker, and it was real simple. I never had, and this was the way it said, you never have to be the reason a team wins. You just can't be the reason it loses. And that encompasses physical talent. That encompasses mental situations. You have to think your way on where are you on the field? What is the score of the game? What do we need to win? All those things have to be processed, and then make smart throws. Just don't throw the ball up in the air and hope that somebody's going to come down with it. You get away with it a little bit, and then all of a sudden, you start thinking it's going to happen all the time, and it's not. I think Andy's got a real Patrick in. I really do. I think you've got to sit him down and say, you need to be more disciplined playing this position.
I think you're bang on, Joe. We saw Russell Wilson go through that recently, about a year or two ago, where it just seemed like all of a sudden he thinks he can make every single throw, and guess what? You can't. You're not Superman. Reel it in. Be a little bit more conscious of some of the decisions you're making. Hey, good decisions. Stafford and Herbert in L.A., 2 great young quarterbacks. Just your thoughts on what you're seeing. Well, not young with Stafford. He's been in the league for a while, but 2 great quarterbacks in L.A. right now. What are you seeing with those 2 guys that impresses you so much?
Well, and we'll mention one other, Josh Allen. I've seen Josh Allen and Justin Herbert grow into their role and understand. But again, you look at the offense. They get the ball out of their hands so quickly. And this goes to the talent that's around them. They get the ball out of their hands so quickly, you don't have time to hit them. Even if you get free runners, you don't get to hit them. And Matthew Stafford's situation was just a simple, he got out of Detroit. Sean McVay, I think, is one of the best. There are 2 or 3 guys that I think are the best play callers in this league, and Sean McVay is one of them. They had a defense. They gave up a lot for Matthew Stafford. They knew what they wanted, and they're getting what they expected. That's the great thing about it. And to me, the Rams in Tampa Bay, it was going to be a Rams game. I think the one Achilles heel for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is their secondary. People can throw. Dallas proved it. Dallas said, look, we're not even going to try and run against that front 7. We're just going to throw the ball all over the place. And then, of course, and it puts a lot of pressure on Tom to be able to make plays, to get the ball down the field, to put points on the board.
Last quarterback I want to ask you about before we let you go is Big Ben, who seems to be struggling right now, sitting there at 39 years of age. I mean, we look at Tom Brady and think that, okay, well, you can do it if you're 39. Tom's doing it at 45. But what are you seeing there, and is it salvageable at this point? Or is it time for Big Ben to retire?
Hey, listen, I think this game is huge. They're going up to Green Bay to play the Packers. I think Ben has to realize, I just have to get the ball out of my hands to the people. Their receiving core is very good. You just have to get the ball to them somehow. Don't hold on to it. Make it quicker drops. Get the ball to a point where you're able to make plays, getting the ball out of your hands. You're not mobile. Don't try and be mobile. Don't try and run away from anything. Just get it out of your hands and run the offense that way. I think that's the mental approach that he's going to have to take going forward.
Joe, thanks so much for doing this. Always a pleasure to talk quarterbacks with you, and we look forward to doing it down the road.
Thanks, Joe.
Anytime, guys. Great catching up with you. See you, Moj. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
That is Joe Theismann, former Notre Dame quarterback, Washington quarterback, Toronto Argo quarterback. Always enjoy catching up with him, and I know you've got a pretty good relationship with him from your time hanging out with him down in Super Bowls.